there, I'm Shawna Robins, and I'm doing an interview today with Authority Magazine, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Wendy Rosenthal. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create better habits around stress. And Wendy is an esteemed business strategist and an executive coach with over 25 years of experience with major brands like Sony and Microsoft. Founder of Pathfinder One-to-One, a business focused on coaching practices, she blends business expertise with emotional intelligence and wellness to help her clients achieve their goals. Wendy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sean. I'm so excited to be here with you,
Yeah,
especially today.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said especially today since we're talking about stress.
Yeah, today is the day of the US elections, and I was telling Wendy before we hopped on here, it was very, very important that she booked with me today so we can all talk about how to create better habits around stress. So Wendy, can you give us a little bit about how you got started and your background and that sort of thing?
Sure. So I actually started my career in real estate, and I moved into a position in a company within Sony that was building retail entertainment centers very, very early on in the late 90s. And it was a very innovative breakthrough type of experience, which we now find to be more common. Malls have entertainment in them. They love to generate consumer experience, but back then it wasn't that. After Sony decided not to continue on with those specific products anymore, we went off into the world of consulting. And I spent 25 years heading up a business and marketing strategy consultancy where we would work with primarily real estate developers, but big brands all over the world to help them engage their consumers in locations, like how to make people feel amazing when they come into your space, or how to build a space if you're a brand where consumers would engage at a level that would obviously increase profits for you. So I did that. I lived in London. I worked all over the world, over 20 countries, which I absolutely loved, diving into different cultures and seeing what they found entertaining. Along the way, though, I have to say I was a practitioner of a spiritual practice for the last 30 years, and I started to learn how to integrate kind of spiritual concepts into my own business. And I found that when I was consulting with my clients, that many times I was there almost as a coach, helping them not only develop strategies that they need, but trying to help them overcome some of the obstacles they were facing internally. And in 2019, I decided that that was where I really wanted to focus my attention. So I reimagined my company, and I started working with high performing executives, entrepreneurs all over the world, to help them reframe how they manage themselves through the lens of a first internal, then external paradigm. So I believe that when things happen externally, instead of trying to fix the external, what you need to do is dive deep into yourself, because that's the only real control you have. So how you see things, how you feel things, how you manage things like stress actually has a ripple effect to the external results that you want. So that's how I work with my clients. Little side note, I'm also a very passionate astrologer. It's been something I've been interested in my whole life. And I discovered that helping my clients by reading their charts, their natal charts, really pinpointed aspects of their character and their strengths and weaknesses that you can work on in and alongside the other coaching that I do. So for some, they love it and I use it as a really amazing tool. Others, they don't, and it's no problem. It's a really nice insight to yourself.
That's so interesting. I like the whole idea of inside out versus outside in. So talk to me about some misconceptions around stress. I know that you mentioned some great ones that I thought were really interesting in your article.
Thank you. So, well, first of all, I think it's the biggest misconception is that stress actually helps us, right? Again, working with a lot of high-powered executives, you see them like, well, if I weren't stressed, then I wouldn't be motivated to get things done. Like I need that pressure. I need that anxiety level almost in order to act at my highest level. And I really believe that that is such a big fallacy that people get stuck into, that gives them an excuse to manage their stress, if that makes sense. And it's, I mean, stress is so bad for your body, by the way, like just from a physical standpoint, it doesn't help you. It actually clouds your thinking, right? There's actually chemicals that are released when you're stressed that do that cloud your thinking, that change your heart rate, that actually impairs your ability to handle the things that you're trying to handle. So I think that misconception really hurts a lot of people because they live at that level all the time. So that's one that I think a lot of people probably understand and have felt. I also think another misconception is that people think it's an unavoidable part of achieving success,
Mm.
right? So, for high achievers, it's like if I don't feel that pressure, I'm not doing something right. I can't be as successful. So they almost seek the stress out in order to validate their pathway to success. And success is not built on stress, right? Success is built on having clear vision, having objectives, playing to your strengths, knowing when to ask for help. That's what success is built around. So I think that's another one that I see very, very often in the corporate world, that it's just something I have to deal with. So I'll just deal with it instead of actually releasing it and managing it in a different way. And then finally, and I think it's really funny that this is something I wrote or we talked about before, that stress is a personal experience.
Mm.
And I think the fact that we're talking about it today, the day of the election in the United States, yes, stress is personal, but stress actually radiates from you. And it has a ripple effect, and it can be a collective stress, right? I don't know, Shawna, are you feeling it today? I
Yeah,
am.
I had this conversation with my daughter before she left for school this morning. I just said people might just be on edge today. Your
Yeah,
teachers, your fellow students, like just walk away. That's
yeah,
all you need to do. You're just going to feel it. You might sense it. You might not understand why, because she's 11. So this is really her first election that she
yeah,
remembers.
as a 12-year-old,
I
I
said, you might
understand.
just feel this sort of tension or just a discord. It's fine. Just move away from it. Even
Yeah,
if you have to sit by yourself today, that might be something that you consider doing. Yeah.
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 So I think people feel like, oh, I'm the one who's stressed. It doesn't matter. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not impacting anybody. It's just me. It's my problem. And the reality of it is that we show up, how we show up, whether it's stressed or happy or sad, it has a ripple effect. We radiate those emotions, whether we know it or not. And stress affects others. It affects our kids.
Mhm.
Tell me when you haven't been stressed and your kid was like totally happy. Like they feel it, right? They feel that heaviness. Your coworkers, if you're a manager, if you're stressed about something, that ripple effects, impacts their productivity, right? Because if they feel you're stressed, they don't maybe know why, and you're not telling them because you don't think it has anything to do with them, but they may be like, oh my God, am I doing something right or wrong? I feel their energy. And that really is so much more impactful than I think people understand. So for me, those are the three big ones, like just to remind ourselves that we don't need stress in the way that we think we do. And when we have it, we are not just alone in it.
Mm, that's great advice. Do you find from your business coaching men and women differently, where women might deal with stress or handle stress differently than men would deal it? What is the advice that you give that way?
Totally. So I think that, and this is the sad part, the happy part for me and the sad part for me. So women tend, when they deal with stress, they tend to like channel it into huge activity. Like they're great multitaskers, but they're also willing to acknowledge that they might be in a state of stress, and they're willing to ask for help. The men that I coach, first of all, I'll give them credit because if I'm coaching them, it means they have a desire to transform themselves. But again, I think they fall into the misconceptions much deeper than women, right? That I need this stress in order to succeed. I
Mm.
have to, like, stress helps me operate at a higher level. And they don't ask for help. So a lot of times what I find in my coaching is that in order to get to what the what is really happening where the stressor is, it's a much uh it has to be a different conversation. I have to pretend like I'm not attacking that. right? I have to come at it from a back door. And so, I really feel that men, when they're more open to the idea that stress uh, is having a bigger impact on them, it's more effective, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Mm. Okay. So can you give us some tips then, as far as stress reduction, stress management? What are your favorite tips that you give to your clients as far as managing day-to-day stress or long-term stress? What are the things that you mostly focus on?
So I have lots of things.
Mm.
So let me share a few. The first thing that's super important, and I think this is true of anything, is checking in with you, right? And having an honest check-in. Okay. You don't have to tell anybody else. You don't have to like express it. You don't have to have a lengthy conversation or feel like you need therapy for it. But if you just start your day with like, where am I feeling? There's a lot of mind, like not where, like where am I, how I'm feeling. There's a lot of mindset um advocates that say like take 5 minutes and like literally go from your bottom of your feet to the top of your head. How's my body feeling? Do I have a part of my body that's like, am I like this? Sorry if you can't see me, my shoulders are up by my ears. Like, if am I relaxed? How does my stomach feel? What do I have coming up during the day? Is there something that's going to be more stressful for me? Like, do I already know I have a big meeting, or I've got to go to the dentist, or is there anything in my day that I really need to focus on in terms of being a stressor? If you can have that honest, even 1 or 2 minutes with yourself in the morning, you're dispelling a lot,
Mm.
right, by having that internal conversation. And in that internal conversation, it's important to acknowledge that, yes, this is stressing me out. Don't try and hide it, because suppressed stress is literally, in my opinion, that's what causes alcoholism. That's what causes anger issues. It's like you're trying to act as if you're not. So if you can take that moment during the very early part of your day just to check in with yourself, that is a very important first step. I also, for kind of managing stress, is to move. Okay. Movement. So, some people say exercise, but not everybody's going to do that. And that's okay. Getting
Just
up and
moving your body. Just moving
moving your
your body.
body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like move your body, swing your legs,
Mm-hmm.
your arms, bend over. Um, if you're working, it's funny. I'm sorry I don't have the reference to point to, but I read an article years ago about how our attention span has decreased
Mm-hmm.
so much that when we're working, like 20 minutes of focused time is about all we can do. So even if getting up out of your chair for 1 minute after 20, that really gives you a reset and also lets you release some of the pressure. It's like a valve, right? It lets you kind of open up the valve and let off some steam. Okay. So also it's important to recognize when you're stressed. So a lot of us, because we're used to stress, we work under it in a way that makes us seem like we're actually doing good for ourselves, if that makes sense, because we've
Mm-hmm.
learned how to work under it. But we also have, all of us have unique signs for recognizing stress. Okay. So for example, some people get headaches. Some people have stomach problems. Some people get aches. Some people do this with their foot. You can't see me, but like, shaking their foot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some people find that their attention span is shorter. Some people find that they're quick to temper. Figure out what yours is.
Back pain.
Back pain. See?
Low back pain.
Right.
Right.
So if
Insomnia, sleepless nights, right? Disturbed sleep.
if you have that, don't chalk it up to, oh, I just stayed up too late.
Right.
Or if your back starts to hurt, oh, I shouldn't have lifted that weight. Like,
Right.
recognize it as an experience where your body is trying to say to you, you are stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that right there again helps you go, okay, wait a minute, hold on. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling something. Let me take care of it in a different way. Another thing to do is, literally, I think that happiness is the biggest antidote to stress. Okay. So if you're feeling that, go, you know, there are the cutest videos out in the world right now. Thank God for, the social media. We could talk about how much you love it or hate it, but you got to love the cute baby videos or the cute dog videos. Find something that gives you a reason to smile. Look at your kid. Think of how have gratitude. Think
Yes.
about something that makes you smile, even if it's for that moment. Again, it's like a valve that opens up and you release some of that stress. So I try and find a reason to smile several times a day, like as an activity, like find a reason to smile.
Well,
And
and even just the act of smiling, right, creates all these hormonally changes in your brain that actually help you feel happier. Just the
100%.
Yeah. And then smiling at somebody else, right? Does the same for somebody else. So
Well,
just these small little acts, I think, of being aware of these things, moving your body, smiling, creating a gratitude list, all of these things make a big difference. People don't realize they think that, they have to quit their job or they have to leave their partner or move to a different town, right? There's like these big life changes they have to make to reduce their stress, but really it's all about those smaller daily habits.
it that's all it Shawna, I could not have said it better myself. That's exactly what it is. And that's why I come back to like my I call it fight, FITE, first internal, then external,
Mm,
right? It doesn't have to be major. It's small things. It's just remembering to do it. And it's so interesting because you talked about like even health wise, when we're stressed, our body releases cortisol, which is an it helps our fight and flight response. Okay. Cortisol actually is linked with heart disease, with stomach disease, with cancer, with so many things, right? So when we're living at this high level of stress, we're literally, like, I don't want to say killing ourselves, but we're shortening our lifespan.
absolutely. And our
We're
quality of life as well.
100%. And
Mhm.
so why wouldn't you want some little release valves that you can do every single day very easily just to reduce that cortisol stimulation that your body has? And you're right. And by the way, when you do those little things, the big things aren't so big, right? They're 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 manageable. So, it's also the recognition that each one of us, Shawna, are all amazing and we have a greatness in us that we can't see ourselves and that we don't express as often as we could. But to do that, you do not have to be operating at this intense level, right? It's just knowing you and it's knowing where you can put your energy so that you're more efficient, you're happier, you're in synchronicity with yourself and what makes you so great. And
Mhm.
and that is what releases stress.
Love that, Wendy. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
You can find me at www.pathfinder, the number one, two, TO1.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Pathfinder 1 to 1. All my numbers are there. Happy to talk to anybody and give you that formula for releasing stress in more detail.
Love it. I'm definitely going to use it today
Yay!
and
Yeah,
tomorrow
we're all going to need it today.
and going forward. I think you had some great tips here. So, thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
me.
All right, Shawna, thank you so much.